Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm changing the format of our tendency conversations. So previously, what I had is I would do a little kind of diagram explaining, or not a diagram, but I'd have kind of like bullet points explaining, okay, this is example and this is example two. I kind of want to change it to a more organic format where we're kind of just going through them. And I did that because I think that when you have the videos the other way, they kind of become more of like a lecture-y. And I kind of wanted to get away from that format because I think it's not only is it less fun, but I think it's also kind of like you just view it as work or something you have to do, and that's not really the kind of vibe that I'm trying to give off with those kinds of videos. So, um, everybody, my name is Mario Pichardo. I don't remember if I said that at the beginning. I hope I did. But I'm not gonna edit this video. I don't like to edit. I like to keep things genuine. I like to keep them straightforward. Listen, you can just skip to whatever when I actually start talking about the real stuff here, right? But listen, so we spoke about a couple tendencies already on this channel. I want to just jump right into the next one. Um I'm not going to do them in order, but we'll just get started where we get started. So we talked about the first tendency, and you can find them. I'm going to set them up as a playlist on my channel when they're all done, and just have that there so that people can just reference that. But essentially, so what we do is we talk about the tendencies, what all the tendencies are, human nature tendencies, and kind of go through them and kind of break them down into what each one is and how they work and so on and so forth. And in today's video, I want to talk about. Let's talk about comparisons. So one of the tendencies that humans make, and you will understand this when you see kind of how people talk to each other, is that one of the tendencies is for people when they're looking at something to judge it based on how it's different from something else. In other words, if all you've ever seen in your life is white, you don't really know what white is. And the reason you don't, if white's the only color you've ever seen, is because you haven't seen blue or black or orange or red. And because you've only ever seen white, it's kind of like the fish's experience of always being in water and never having stepped, never having been in another environment. You know, the only way that a fish would really know water, and you can, kind of understand this as well, is by those moments when it's outside of water, or those moments when it on lands on the beach, or lands in a boat, or gets hooked up by someone, or I don't know, gets grabbed by a fish grabbed by a bird when it comes out, or like splashes out or whatever, flops out. And so humans work that way, where they make, it's very intelligent design by God, I think, because when you look at the world based on how one thing is compared to another, you kind of have now this understanding where it's like, okay, well, not only is blue blue, but now I know what red is. And I don't know if we espouse on that idea. Well, I don't know what's hard until I know what's soft. And I don't know what's long until I know what's short. And I don't know what's fast until I know what's slow. Because that's kind of how we think about things. And so today's tendency is talking about, well, when does that tendency go awry? And that's called the contrast. Well, it doesn't matter what the technical name is, but it's really just the. And again, if you guys want to learn about any of this stuff, look up Charlie's book. I have it right here. There's this guy down here. I'm not going to pick it up because there's a big stack. And you guys already know what it's called. This Poor Charlie's Almanac. Great book. One of the best books I've ever read. Just in terms of just so much knowledge, and it's incredible. I highly recommend it. Again, I don't have any affiliation, so I don't get a cut or anything like that if you guys decide to pick it up or whatever. But to get back on the point, so this tendency is just saying that is that you don't understand one thing until you understand another. You don't know grass until you've known not grass, until you've seen another plant, for example, or you've seen, I don't know, a squirrel. Clearly, you know that the squirrel is not the grass and the grass is not the squirrel. There's a difference. One is green, one has brown fur, one has fur. So now you know what fur is. And so that's kind of how we understand things. And so, okay, where does the tendency come in? Well, contrast misreaction is essentially saying that, yes, well, two things are different. Okay. Sometimes we make comparisons that are apples to oranges as opposed to apples. And what that means is that all of a sudden we don't judge something based on its natural, its actual innate characteristics, but we just judge it based on how it's different from something else. Now, that's fine if our metric is something like, okay, well, we want to focus on something that'll like give us the most fun between two activities, but it's kind of not, it's not the same when it comes to evaluating two things that are kind of really different. And I'll give you an example. I mean, if I'm debating whether to buy a new TV or to buy a car, you know, and I base my decision based off of, oh, well, you know, I kind of want a TV, but with this car, I'll be able to do X, Y, and Z. And, you know, that's well and good. I mean, that might be a great decision to make, right? To get the car because you can do X, Y, and Z. You could do this. But if your decision on which one to buy is on a basis of, and I'm going to be just ridiculous here, a little ridiculous, is to say that, hey, well, you know, what would I rather spend my money on a Saturday? You know, do I want this new 4K? Do I want to buy this new car? And we can make our judgments based off of something like, oh, well, this one will give me more pleasure immediately. I can just relax at home when I come home, or I can have this car. But I'm gonna go with the TV because, you know, why not? Well, I didn't really take into account, well, the fact that the car can do this, and the car can bring me here, and the car can take me here, and the car can do this. And it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't be comparing the car to the TV because they're just so radically different. You know, even comparing, you know, two different kinds of cars. Well, they're not exactly the same. You know, cars have different kind of inputs or different kinds of things that you can use them for, that could make them different in terms of what you'll get out of them. I mean, when you make a decision between, okay, I'd rather date Susie than date Tammy. Well, that's a little different because they're innately very different women, you know? And so I have to decide, okay, well, this one is like this one's like that. They're not exactly. Anyway, so I think you guys get the picture. So the tendency is basically just to say that there are different properties in different objects. And so you cannot just make a direct comparison on them without taking into account so many different factors. And so that's what the tendency is. The tendency says that we do that a lot of the time. And that's just a decision that people make and something that we need to watch out for. Again, because of the nature of these tendencies as being our own actual literal nature, you're not always cognizant of when you're doing it, but reminding yourself of it and being aware of yourself more often will lead you to notice when it's okay, well, listen, here I'm making an apples to oranges comparison. Let me step back and make sure that I don't do this so that I don't end up making another fallacy judgment based on, you know, and make a judgment error that I don't want to make. So anyway, I hope this video helps you guys. If you guys have any more, if you guys still have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer those questions, get you guys any additional information that you may want, so on and so forth. So if you guys liked the video, please feel free to hit that like button. If you loved it, hit that sub button. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.